thanks for coming today. I was hoping to sit down with you because I know as a social worker, you probably hear the same questions over and over and over, which is great. People want to know the same information. So as a way to kind of get ahead of the curve, I just thought we could sit down and talk about some of the most common questions that you get. And I know there's a lot of misinformation about adoption too. So I thought everybody playing at home could play a true and false game with us. I'm going to ask Amanda a true or false question. Answer below. Feel free to comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. And then Amanda's going to share with us what the correct answer is.
Sounds good.
All right. Perfect. We'll start with some questions that we often hear from expecting mothers, women who are pregnant, who might be considering adoption. Question number 1. When I call Adoptions from the Heart, they'll only talk to me about adoption. Is this true or false?
False.
False.
That is such a huge misconception. People don't realize that when you initially call our agency, we're really here to provide options counseling. We're never here to pressure you into adoption. We're here to talk about all of your options and what you feel is the best decision for you and this child.
Adoption counselors will try to talk me into adoption. Is that true or false?
False. So it's actually the complete opposite. My job, even though I am an adoption counselor, is to talk about what a client feels is in their best interest. And if she or he ultimately decide that parenting or placing their child with another family member or doing some sort of temporary foster care is a better option than adoption, I will help advocate for what they feel is in the best interest of their child.
People can call you no matter what they've decided or if they're unsure, really, and you'll kind of help present options and they get to pick what they feel is best.
Absolutely. I work with hundreds of clients who ultimately decide adoption is not the path they want to take. And they're very grateful in the end, having had the opportunity to reach out, talk to somebody outside of their circle, and truly figure out what's the best choice for them and their family.
I'm 8 months pregnant. It's too late for me to choose adoption.
False. I would actually say that a majority of our placements are calls directly from the hospital of women who are choosing adoption, which means that a woman or a man can call us at any point in time during their pregnancy. Could be really early on, could be at the moment that they are at the hospital delivering. They can even call us afterwards. They've taken baby home from the hospital, they've tried to parent, and they feel like that's not the right plan for that child. So there's no time frame. You can call us at any point and we can provide the counseling to help you figure out what's the best plan for your child.
I have to choose open adoption if I work with Adoptions from the Heart. True or false? Comment below.
Can be a little tricky for people, but false. Even though we are an open adoption agency and we advocate for openness because we ultimately feel it's in the best interest for a child to grow up knowing their story, we would never force a birth parent to have an open adoption. There's various levels of open adoption and various options that you have as a birth parent coming into our agency. So no, you do not have to choose an open adoption as a birth parent coming into our agency.
And I know on the flip side, for adoptive parents, we require adoptive parents to be open to a certain level. And so you've seen over the years that you've been working with us that some birth parents might be coming in, expecting parents might be coming in saying, I don't want any openness. But then later on, they do want it, which is why we require adoptive parents to be open towards that, right? Because then you already have pictures and letters. So even if somebody's not getting them, the agency is receiving those along the way.
Absolutely. We have an idea of a minimum amount of openness that families are required coming into our program to be open to, but that can change over the course of time. They can open up to more. They can ultimately be placed with a birth parent who doesn't want openness and then changes their mind down the road. So there's tons of options moving forward.
I can pick the family for my baby and decide how much contact I want. True or false?
True. As the birth parent, you lead the ship. You are in charge of deciding what you feel you want for your child. You get the options of choosing the family, you get the option of choosing how much openness you want. So you really have the ability to make choices that you feel is right for you and your situation.
So on the flip side, I can also choose not to pick the family.
Correct. So we definitely have clients that come to us and feel like it's too much for them. They'd rather not choose. They don't want to look at profiles of prospective families. So our agency then can help choose for them. And we ultimately go with one of our longer waiting or disrupted families that match their situation.
Adoptions from the Heart screens families to make sure they're safe homes. True or false? Comment below what you think.
That is very true and very important.
And as an adoptive mother myself, I can say yes.
Yes, I mean, prospective adoptive parents go through an extremely thorough process before they're even eligible to be placed with the child. And it's really important that expecting and birth parents realize that we don't just take people in off the streets and say, hey, you want a baby? Here you go. They go through a lot of background checks, reference checks, medical checks. We come out to their home and do a thorough walkthrough. We check their financial records, a bunch of different areas that we make sure they are fit and ready to become parents.
I'm struggling with addiction. There aren't any families for my child since I know my child is going to have drugs in their system. True or false?
False. You know, we
Okay.
have an enormous amount of education for adoptive families about prenatal drug and alcohol exposure. And I think a majority of our families have the ability to gain a better understanding of what withdrawal looks like, and it's not as scary for them. So we have a lot of families that are open to drug or alcohol exposure or mental health concerns during pregnancy. So it's not as if you will not find a family. We have great families. You will have options. You will be able to still place your baby.
And so there's no judgment also. You have probably heard and seen it all. And so expecting parents shouldn't feel nervous or worried about contacting you because you just want to know what their situation is and the truth about where they are so that you can best help them, whatever that situation is.
Absolutely. I think making that call is really intimidating to begin with for a client who's possibly considering adoption, and they should know we're never here to judge you. We're really here to help you and help figure out what the best plan is for your child, but there will never be any sort of pressure or judgment of your particular situation.
Once I fill out the application, I have to do adoption. I have to go through with what I've said on the application. True or false?
False. So again, there is never any pressure to place your child from adoption. That's before, during, and even after you've placed your child for adoption. Every state has a certain time period for a birth parent to change their mind and decide on a different plan other than adoption. And we will fully support whatever you ultimately decide. So no, you can apply, you can go through the process, you can ultimately place your child and then change your mind. And your social worker will help talk through all of your options and your rights throughout the process.
I'm in the hospital and I just gave birth and I think adoption's right for me. I can call Adoptions from the Heart and they'll meet me at the hospital. True or false?
True. We are a 24/7 agency. There is always somebody available to counsel with you, to come out and meet with you, to talk through how you're feeling and what you want to do. So you can always feel secure knowing you can contact the agency and someone will be there to help.
So if somebody's in the hospital, whether they're in labor or going to be induced or whether they've just given birth, what do they do? And they think adoption's right. What do they do? Do they say something to the nurse? How does that work?
Absolutely. If you are considering adoption or just facing an unplanned pregnancy and not knowing what to do, you can always reach out to a staff member at the hospital, tell them you want to call Adoptions from the Heart. They will provide you the information, our website, the phone numbers to call, so that we can have somebody be there to support you.
I can change my mind after my baby goes home with the family. True or false? Again, if you're following this along on social media, right below, true or false, what are your thoughts?
True. So again, every state is different in terms of the revocation period, which is the time period a birth parent has to change their mind. But overall, as long as you have spoken with your social worker, they will guide you through how long you have to change your mind. So most often that does collide with baby leaving the hospital. So baby can go home with family, and still at that point, you can contact the agency and say, I've changed my mind. I want to parent, and we would handle everything moving forward for you.
Well, I hope that's answered a lot of the common questions. Those are often the questions we see, and when you get phone calls or emails, you're seeing over and over. If you have any other questions at all, just leave a comment below. We'll have a social worker reach out to you, private message us. We're here to help.